Welcome, fellow last places, to another episode of LPF Debrief, where Chris and I talk about comic books, TV shows, and movies. And on today's episode, we are tackling Kenobi episode 1 and 2, featured on Disney Plus exclusively. It's the only place you can watch it. So if you don't have Disney Plus, you're pretty much, you know,
Screwed.
can't, you're screwed. There's nowhere else to watch it. Guys, excuse the lighting situation. I am dog sitting, and we still wanted to get the content out here for you guys. So we don't mess around out here. Don't matter what's going on. We are going to get that content out for you guys. But before we start, we're going to start the episode the same way we always do, by shaming Yendi into not watching the content that we do. So, uh-oh.
Shame.
He's got
Shame.
that's a that's a harsh shame.
I had to.
But as always, yeah, I like that though. I like that.
Jeez.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot of Star Wars content for you guys because Star Wars went crazy with all the announcements. So we're excited. We're gonna talk about episode 1 and sorry, 2 of Kenobi. So yeah, so we're going to talk about those things. And as always, guys, there is spoilers. So if you guys don't want to watch any of the spoilers, go ahead and turn it off or pause it and then come back and join us while we discuss this, and let us know what you guys thought of both episodes. Put it down in the comments. We would like to hear what you guys have to say so we could talk about it when we record the next episode, which is going to be on like sooner than later.
Comes out Wednesday. Yeah.
Comes out Wednesday. So please let us know what you guys think. So getting right into it, Chris, what'd you think of episode 1 and 2? Just start with episode 1 and then, work your way through like
Gotcha.
what you thought.
Fantastic. Loved it all. Breath of fresh air after Halo. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, this is really good. Yeah, me and Bree loved loved what we got so far. There were some cheesy scenes, but I understand why. We'll get to those in a little bit of why I think they were cheesy, but why it works and we understand. But also, I was more floored about the cameos in all of this, which we'll talk about in a little bit also, because I have everything down, and the people I've talked to that watched it didn't even know. The only person that they knew that was like present was is it Camille Giuliani? What's his name, man? He was in Eternals.
Oh, Camille
Nanji.
Nanjiani?
What? Nanjiani?
Nanjiani?
Yeah, something like that. So him.
Nanjiani.
Yeah, we love him. So that was the biggest presence that everybody's like, oh, I know who that is. But there's two others that I'm gonna give you guys.
Kamal.
What?
I think it's Kamal.
Yeah, something like that. We're close. I practiced it and then I completely forgot as soon as we recorded. But yeah, everything was shot beautifully, and it just made. I will say, like, the first couple minutes of the episode made me upset because it just brought me back to Boba Fett and how I feel like, yeah, now it's like in there that I'm like, okay, Boba Fett got cheated for sure.
I told you.
Yeah.
It's just one of those stories that, like I said, with Boba Fett, and not to go too far on that, because if you guys want to hear our reviews on that, we did talk about that. But I just feel like that was given a story that the story is not something that they wanted to write. And I mean, it does bring like speculation even to this because it's more like this is kind of a story that we know, essentially. Like, we don't know like the details of it, but we know kind of where everything led to, especially if you were watching like Clone Wars and Rebels. You definitely know a lot more to the story than, someone who hasn't watched those shows. So I think there's definitely some stories there, but I just think Ewan McGregor being just fantastic as Obi-Wan also helps this show a lot. But
Yes.
go ahead.
But yeah, seeing how everything started off, we see a beaten up Obi-Wan, like not beaten up, but like emotionally beaten Obi-Wan. He's lost hope. We hear that Yoda said like, "Hey, I found a way to get you in contact with your master and everything like that." And for those that I've watched the cartoons. Me and Alan have watched the cartoons. What he means by that, for you guys that don't watch the cartoons, there's an episode that Qui-Gon speaks to Yoda and takes him to Dagobah and says, "This is where you're gonna be. This is where you're gonna end up to become one with the Force, right? To become a living being for the Force." And so Yoda was trying to tell Obi-Wan that. So throughout the episodes, we do see Obi-Wan try to reach out to Qui-Gon. We also get a little tidbit that when the Inquisitors show up, we get a little tidbit that they were looking for Ahsoka, which, if you read her book, if you read the Ahsoka book, takes right after Order 66. So all these things are starting to climb together, and now I know the feeling that Alan gets whenever he's like, "Oh, this comic and that comic in Marvel."
It all makes sense
Yeah.
because they keep adding it, and it's perfect.
Yeah, so I have some tidbits too for whenever we get back into episode 2 later on. But yeah, man, just seeing Obi-Wan again made me happy. I did see an interview with Ewan McGregor where he was like, he felt bad that he thought like, the prequels. He's like, the fans were upset until I realized that the prequels were actually for those guys as kids, and the kids enjoy those movies. And that connected with me because a lot of the times when people ask me like, "Oh, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?" and I liked episode 2 because of Jango Fett, people are like, "Well, oh, you like the prequels, that's awful." But it's like, that's what introduced me into the Star Wars world. And him kind of validating that, I was like, okay, cool. So I can like these things. So
I mean, you can like them. That doesn't mean that they're good.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can tell you that you can't like those episodes. Like, I don't tell people you can't like them. I just don't think they're good movies.
I get the shame bell all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. But just majority of episode 1 was just seeing him, the emotion. He's terrified, right, of what happened to Anakin, and in episode 2 when he finds out that's one of like, we'll get into episode 2. I'm gonna keep track on episode 1, but he's so terrified that whenever you find out there is another Jedi in where he's at, that ends up finding him. And which I will say, this Jedi ends up getting hunted by the Inquisitors, and they hang him in the town to make sure everybody knows, like, hey, we found him. So if you're hiding a Jedi, we're gonna end up finding it, and you're gonna be in trouble also. And that death to me is on Obi-Wan's hands because he was so scared that he's like, listen, like, you need to hide this, you need to get away from me, like, just go away, right? And his only mission right now is to protect Luke. Awesome seeing Luke, right? We have his story, but as soon as we saw the other city, my mind's going blank. But whenever we see little Leia, and I was like, no way, this is a perfect chance to get Leia's childhood that we never see. We just see her meet up, and we're like, oh, here she is. We knew she was a senator. There we go, blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to keep going. But seeing her, and also this girl that's playing her, is 1, adorable. 2, is fantastic. Is doing a very great job. I love her attitude. And I'm sure she's just too young right now to understand how big of a role she's actually playing. But perfect for it. And I enjoyed it a lot. Also, did she get kidnapped in 1? Towards the end.
In episode, yeah, she does.
Okay. So that guy that you guys saw, right? I was laying on the couch, funny story. Bree was like looking at me, and she's like, "What?" And I'm just staring at the screen. I'm staring at this guy that picks her up, that chases her, right? And I'm like, man, this guy kind of looks like Flea. And I'm like, he starts talking. I was like, this guy kind of sounds like Flea. So I typed in Google. I put Flea, and then the first Google search was in Star Wars. Clicked it, and it was like, Flea makes a guest appearance in Obi-Wan. I was like, no way! So that guy is Flea. If you don't know who Flea is, he's the bassist for Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I thought that was dope. I thought that was really cool that they're going to continue with these big cameos. Um, the cheesy part, I guess, is because it did happen in episode one. So the little girl, right? The chase scenes. There's moments where you can tell these guys can just scoop her up and go, but they need to have
Yeah.
that shot. So I let him get away with it. I'm like, I understand what you're working with. This girl is really small. Fine. It fits the story, but I get what's going on. It happens again in episode two, a little bit too dramatically with it. But yeah. And then as it goes for the Inquisitors, I'll give you my opinion on the Grand Inquisitor because I have a theory. And Sister 3, I like,
Third
but
sister.
third sister, she's laying it on real thick. As like, I just a little over dramatic, but I'm fine with it. Like they're hurt. Um, I think she's also because I forgot to mention at the beginning of this episode, we see Order 66 carry out with a whole bunch of younglings, and I think she's one of the younglings. It just kind of feels that way. And maybe we'll see what happened with Obi-Wan. Maybe she reached out to him and he didn't help. He ran or something like that because she has a real hate for him and she wants him really bad. Uh, but yeah, overall, that first episode was awesome. What did you think going back
Yeah.
into this world?
Yeah, episode one I thought was really good. It was a nice bridge to what we were seeing 10 years after Order 66, which was really nice. I mean, not the scene itself, but just knowing that we were in that time frame and now we're going back. And we know that like we know Obi-Wan, like I said, this is a story that we kind of know. We just don't know the details of it. And I think taking off at where they are is a really good sign of just seeing like Obi-Wan being disconnected from the force, just being like, you know what I mean, like my main goal is to make sure that when Luke is ready, that I'm ready to train him because again, like you said earlier, he doesn't want what happened to Anakin to happen to Luke. So he's kind of like he's very dead set on this mission and he doesn't want anyone to even interfere. And that's why even when he has those conversations with Owen, it's kind of like, listen, like we already talked about this. And then Owen's like, listen, like you already had an opportunity with one. I know how the Jedi work. I've seen what happened with Anakin. So like, you know what I mean? So what's to say that the same thing won't happen? And you know what I mean? And that does raise a good point because Obi-Wan has no proof that he can prevent that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's what gives the Obi-Wan storyline such a interesting like concept because it's like I want to train him so that I can prevent that. But what if training him is the reason that he goes to the dark side? Like you have no evidence, and I think it's a nice conundrum for Obi-Wan, especially a character of his stature, to be in because he doesn't know. And like as a Jedi, you want to be like, you know, truthful and you want to be like adventurous and positive and be like, oh, this is going to work because that's just the way of the Jedi. But he's kind of losing his way to that because of the dramatic experience that he had in episode three, having to, you know, obviously hurt his best friend. And at the time, he thinks he's even killed him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So he doesn't know like to have that burden on his chest and to know that now he wants this to also feel like a redemption for himself to be like, yeah, this happened, but I also want to take care of like my friend's son. Like, you know what I mean? So I thought it's a really cool way to set up that storyline. I thought it was a good way for them to do that. And like I texted my friends you know, my brother and my friend Howard earlier while I was watching the episode and just saying how great Ewan McGregor is as Obi-Wan because it's like his deliveries are just like so perfect and like his timing is just perfect for this character. So I am really happy that he got excited to play this role again and wanted to play it because like I don't like the prequels as from a movie standpoint. I understand the story and stuff like that, but Ewan McGregor was definitely one of those shining moments of the prequels. So to have him back reprising this role, and I, you know, obviously Hayden Christensen's also going to be coming back later on,
This
which
is a
I'm
redemption.
excited
This
for.
is a redemption for
Yeah.
him because he
Hmm.
was not
Well,
I feel
No.
like he was just the one that was not liked at all. Like everybody was like,
Well, I
everybody
mean, it
else is
wasn't his
great, but
fault, but yeah.
I feel like out of the characters, they were like, okay,
Yeah.
I just don't like Anakin, and
Yeah. hmm
yeah, so
So,
I'm
but yeah,
excited.
it's so I'm excited for that. So it's gonna be really cool. What I didn't think and what a pleasant surprise was like you said was getting that Leia story because that's not something that again that I even thought of like to even put into the story.
Yeah,
Like you know what I mean? Like now that I'm seeing it, it makes sense
yep,
because it's like oh this is perfect. You could put a Leia story in here. You could definitely find out what like her origin and like you know how she was with the Organon. So like just finding out that family and stuff. So I think it was a really good way to like shoehorn that in while Luke is still getting ready. You know what I mean? So it gives you, and I mean honestly, we've with this being 6 episodes, that was already 2 episodes of us just dealing with Leia anyway. So I'm cool. I
and I
think it'd be
enjoyed
awesome.
every minute of
Yeah.
it. Like I said, she was fantastic. I also wanted to point out
Right.
the guy, Senator Organa, the her dad.
Mhm.
That man does not age.
Nope.
And like it's not a CGI thing or anything like that. That man legitimately does not. Every role
Nope.
I've seen him in, he looks the same.
Yeah. hmm
He just does not age. It's crazy. But I just want to
Nope.
throw
He
that
looks
out there.
great. Jimmy Smits.
Jimmy Smits, yeah, I love him. I
Yeah.
love him.
Yeah.
He's great in he's in Dexter,
Mhm.
in
In the
in
Heights,
the
he's in
Heights.
that.
Yep. So it's just, but like I said,
Got a wide range.
all those years ago of the from the prequels, he was in the prequels. He
hmm
still looks as soon as he walked up, I was like, this man did not age at all. He looks like he just walked in, like
Yeah,
the
he
first
was
time we're
great.
meeting him again. So yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, it and the actress's name for is Vivian Blair, the one who plays young Leia. She's the wittiness, the smart remarks, the just feeling super smart and being like you can really see the young Leia in her and I think that's like really good on direction and on her to be able to even like be directed and to be able to play that way of a character who is like that. Like you can definitely see the Leia wittiness and even in
yep.
this young, actress. Like you know what I mean? And I think direction is perfect. I think directing this is Deborah Chow, and she's actually directing all the episodes if I'm not mistaken,
Oh
which is
really?
going to be which is also going to be a first. And I think once they in the live actions because they usually have it like split
Like
up, and
yeah,
I
they
think
pass
she's
it around.
directing every single episode. So that should be cool. And I think the story and is written by the same person also. I think Joby Harold has wrote and Stuart Betty has written all the episodes. So it should be like a pretty, which I'm excited for because that means it's going to be a
A
pretty much like
consistent.
they know what their story
Yeah.
consistent, and the direction's going to stay the same, which I think is cool too. So we did see some introduction of some characters in there. We saw the Inquisitors, 3 of them, which is you know, if you watch Clone Wars, if you watch Rebels, you'll know a little
But
bit more
Grand
about
Inquisitor, like I
their
said,
stories
I don't
and
think
stuff.
I
Well, yeah,
when we're ready to talk
we'll
about
get there.
episode
We'll
two.
get there.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, so anyway, episode 1, like I said, started off and midway was great. Then we had the kidnapping of Leia, obviously to bring us on to episode 2, which started off with like getting that message and wanting, hey, like Obi, you have to go and save her, like because this is at the end of the day, this is still like this is Luke's sister, and like she's just as important. And I like that they stress that, right? Because like it's not just about Luke; it's also about like there was twins,
Yep.
right? So like Leia is just as important, and this is when using a prequel is beneficial. Like you know what I mean? Because the audience, in most cases, like the majority of the audience, knows that Leia is important. So for you to use the line saying like she's just as important, it it's playing off of knowing that we know what's already going to happen.
Yeah.
So like I think that's a very good way to play off of a prequel because genuinely I don't like prequels because it's too predictable of a story. But if you can maneuver it into things that we already know, I think it's really smart to do because you get situations like this where you can be like, yes, she's just as important, and us as the audience going, yep, he's right. Like he is at like she is just as important as saving Luke. So like it is important that you save her. Like we know. So like Obi, get it together and go save her. You know what I mean? So I feel like playing those words off was really nice. Um, Reva, I think she's I think she's a fine character. I do think there were some moments where, like you said, she was a little bit too much. I'll get into the parkour scene, which kind of bothered me, but I'll get into that later. Before I get there, though, but you know, obviously Luke. I'm not. I'm sorry. Obviously, Obi is heading, to the new planet. To it's Dayu to go, find Leia to make sure she can. He doesn't know if he's going into a trap, but we do have that moment at the end of episode 1 where like he has the lightsaber again, and it's like, oh man, like we're building up to, the Obi that we know, right? So, and again, it's one of those exciting things where you're like, oh man, like he's about to go to like it's about to be the Obi-Wan we know, like and he gets to Dayu, and I think it's cool that like he they're showing you he doesn't have the Force, right? And he's not in touch with the Force anymore, and he's using like fighting skills.
Also, no
Like, you know what I
training
mean?
because he got worked. Like he throws
Yeah.
that first punch.
Mhm.
He's like, you
Yeah.
could see it in his face. He's like,
Mhm.
all right, let's
Yeah.
see if I still
This
got
is
it.
a different kind of
Yeah.
But also it's different though, right? Because
Yeah.
when Obi-Wan was training originally, you were training with the Force.
Yes.
So like you've had like, if that's taken away from you, your fighting style is now different.
Mhm.
Like so I'm really happy that they showed that. Like, hey, I haven't fought first of all, I haven't fought period in like 10 years, like since Order 66. But also, I'm fighting a completely different style now because I don't have this thing that I trained with, and I'm not using my lightsaber. So,
Because I
like,
don't want to draw
how much
attention. Yep.
exactly? So, how much hand-to-hand training has you done? And realistically, we don't know of any, right? Because
Yeah.
he's always had the Force. So, I think it was a really cool way to show his fighting style and how it had to be different because he is he has closed the Force out essentially. So I thought all of that that whole direction and whole fight scene, Flea being in it is perfect because I mean I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So just them having that whole that whole like interaction and just it being like it was just all cool, right? Like I just thought it was all cool, like seeing all of that and then we see him needing help from what we think is another Jedi, which is Haja, which is played by I'm gonna butcher his name, but yeah, I'm gonna butcher his name, but I'm sorry guys, and I'm sorry to him
I
because
need to read his
I
name.
know it, but yeah, but it's Kamal. I'm sure it's Kamal,
Yeah.
but Kamal, who plays Haja, is just basically like a little trickster, and he has like magnets and stuff like that. And I think that was cool because he fits a character who would do that perfectly, right? Like he is one of those fun characters that you're just like, oh, this guy can't be serious. Like you kind of knew that it wasn't real.
Oh,
Like
as soon as the
I mean?
gate went
So,
down, as
yeah,
soon as I saw the
yeah,
shutters go
yeah,
down, I was like, oh my
yeah.
God. And
But
then,
like he still has a good heart though,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
like so that was fun. And then we see some, rifts between the Inquisitors. Also, did you know that the fifth brother, not the Grand Inquisitor, is played by Sung Kang, the dude who he's Han from Fast and Furious. Did you know that?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. Yep, he
Gotcha.
plays Han from Fast and Furious. So like, yeah, they got some people who are just hiding
Yeah.
in plain sight
One
too. So
one being the girl that gives Obi-Wan whenever he's looking for information and she's selling spice, the girl with the
Mhm.
pink hair that she's like the
Yep.
first one's free. That's Ewan McGregor's daughter.
Yeah.
It's his
Mhm.
actual daughter in playing in it, and I thought that was so cool that these actors are getting their kids to play because even
Yeah.
I know Carrie Fisher's daughter was also in the newer Star Wars film. She was in all three, I think,
Yep.
as a background character. And in the last movie, she had a little bit more of a talking role. And it's just so cool to see that they did that. So that was the other cameo that I was talking about. So
Yeah. So it is. Yeah. It's perfect. So I think it's really cool for them to be able to do that and just add all these characters. And like I said, the story direction, it just already starting to feel like and like I said, I think this benefits because it's Obi-Wan, and I think it's a care and it's Ewan McGregor, so it all feels like, it feels like more meaningful. And I think that's why this show, at least with the first two episodes, is already starting to like feel like, okay, I care about Obi-Wan. Like I want him to be okay. Like, you know what I mean? I want Obi-Wan to make sure he reconnects with the Force. Like, you know what I mean? And obviously we know what happens, but it's still seeing that struggle. It does help to see that struggle, right? Like to see him realizing when things are happening. Like, hey, I don't have the Force. And then even Leia being like, like, how am I supposed to believe you? Like, you know what I mean? I have no way of believing you. You won't tell me your real name.
very
Like, you know what I
smart
mean?
girl too, putting everything
Yeah.
together. I'm glad
Hmm.
I'm glad they didn't choose to. I'm glad they didn't make her weak. Like, oh,
Hmm.
I need help. I like she grows into Leia. I'm glad that it
Yeah.
was like no, she was born and she was fierce and had a sense of adventure this whole time, and she
And
loves
this
it.
is what and you
Yeah,
can do that with young characters. And this is what I was trying to say about Marvel. I know it's not a Marvel conversation, but this is what I mean. Your young characters can already be non-dependable.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? You can make these characters non-dependable and it will work. Like you don't need to make them dependable. So that's one thing I did like that they did. She figured it out. Like obviously she didn't know the whole truth, and that's the perfect thing because she is young. Yes. She's young. She is going to make mistakes. And yeah, and the quote that she said, which I forgot to write down, which was amazing, basically saying like, some people think that saying less actually helps hide the truth, like hide things, but actually saying less actually makes it worse. I don't remember exactly how she said it, but the line itself was perfect, right? Like it was just a perfect line for Obi-Wan to see that. And then of course the foreshadowing was perfect. Like, oh, can you make me float? Like I want to float. Like, and he's just like, I can't do that.
yeah.
Like, you
He's
know
like
what I mean?
no.
I can't make you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
Go ahead. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna point out that they introduced a new droid for us.
Mhm.
We don't have the droid name, like actual like number, but we just know what was it, Lola? That she named her,
Yeah, Lola.
which I thought was cool. I'm sure we're gonna see those around at some point, but it was cool to see her companion. I totally thought there that whenever it broke, that he was gonna use the Force right there to fix it. To be like, oh, let me
Mhm.
gain her trust here. Like this is gonna be our sentimental moment. But then she
Mhm.
sees the other tracker and it went a whole different. Or she saw the bounty and it
Yeah.
went a whole different way. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was good. Yeah, it was a good way to get her like to get that motion and start it. Like I said, it was good. Like what they're doing within the story is not making it predictable. And I think because you're doing a prequel, you have to make his story points not be as predictable. So I think it's cool. Like you took away the force from him. I think it's cool that he has to now relearn it. It's cool that someone is chasing him. Like you know what I mean. Like it's not just the oh I was on Tatooine this whole time waiting for Luke to become old enough to train. Like you know what I mean? And I think that's what's cool about this storyline is that it's going in a direction that isn't as stagnant. Hey, I went on this different planet to go save Leia. Like you guys didn't know I did that. Like you know what I mean? Like I did a bunch of things while doing that. And speaking of Reva and the whole like that whole scene, the parkour scene, like it would have been fine if it was just one scene. When it came back and she was still parkouring, it doesn't take that long. Why did it take her that long to get there?
well, before
Like,
that too, I wanted to say when he goes, Leia, wait, right? He's like, from viewer point right now, from me, we both know, right? Me and Alan are in different places right now, but from the point of like, for comparison, if you're looking at the screen, from me to Alan is where she is. Like it looks like I can reach over and touch Alan right now, and it looked like that. And then the next scene, she's gone. She's miles gone, which I understand. I understood. They're like they wanted the chase scene, but this is also the thing, right? I understand that we should like there are bad moments in shows, movies, stuff like that. But when a show is really good, right? I'm willing to forget. I'm like, you know what? Take it. Like, you can take that one. That's fine. This is a little weird moment here, but I'll take it. Because also, whenever he uses the Force, when she falls off the building, right? And he puts her down, he just rounds the corner. I was like, whoa. Oh, hello? Yeah. So those moments, though, I'm having so much fun in the show that I'm just like, okay, this was cheesy. This is what I was saying. This is a cheesy thing. But I'm willing to put that aside because so far, everything else around it was fantastic.
Yeah, but realistically, it's Star Wars. You're always going to have like a sense of cheesiness.
It will never be. Nothing right now. The worst thing I've seen so far is the speeder thing from Boba Fett.
That wasn't cheesy. That was just bad.
Yeah, that was bad. I'm saying that's the only bad thing I've seen so far that I consider bad. So that's where my scale is right now. So if I'm like, okay, compare this scene from Scooter to.
That was just bad. But yeah, like you were saying, but my thing is though, Reva didn't seem like she was far.
No, because she's I was like, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? First of all, you were close enough to hear them screaming, and then
we saw the building. We saw the building. We saw you were like
gunshots.
4 or 5 buildings over. Like
and then like for her to, because think about this. So not only was she parkouring that whole time, right? So she's forced parkouring, but then like, not only did Obi-Wan then see Leia, tells Leia, hey, stop, save Leia, go down, and then actually be able to take off, and Reva was still running, and then she wasn't even down on the street level yet.
Did he take out the 2 guys? Gone. Did they take out the 2 guys? Yeah. I don't remember seeing
He was already gone. They were already gone. And I'm like, yo, why did she run for that long? And why hasn't she caught them? Like, I don't understand. Like, you could have made that camera shot like a whole lot better, but you could have also just made it one parkour scene where she does the initial run and then just cut it to the street and her like her just missing them, opposed to continuing the parkour scene and still being late. Like I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all.
Yeah.
I thought that for me was just a bit too much. It made it feel corny because it was just too long. Like the whole running scene was just too long. But I get it. You want to show off, you've got,
because the city was beautiful. Yeah. I think that's why I liked episode 2, like Star Wars episode 2, because of that the city that we got to see. Right, I love when they're even in the cartoons, whenever they went into the underground and stuff like that. I love those couple episodes because I'm like, there's so much here. There's a lot of criminals here and everything like that. I like seeing this. We see a lot of different species, all that. Also, I was gonna ask the what's his name, Tamura Morris, the guy who's playing Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
He has to be making some good change because he showed up as a stormtrooper. Right on the side, and he's like, help a veteran, blah blah blah, and I'm like, man, and then he's gonna play Cody like later on, or no, Rex maybe for Ahsoka.
Well, it doesn't matter because they're all cloned from the same.
Yeah, it's all him. So I'm just like, whenever I saw him on the ground, just making the small cameo, I was like, man, this guy is like, I would love to be like, hey, we're gonna clone you. It's just like. Yeah. Okay.
I'll be on every episode.
Yeah, I'll be on everything. Why not?
Yeah.
So,
but I did like that scene also because Obi-Wan like knows that he fought alongside a lot of them. So I thought it was cool that he's just like, yeah, let me go ahead and give them some cool.
I was afraid I was gonna see the yellow helmet. I was like, don't show me Cody. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Yeah. I don't want to know yet. But it was they did that whole thing, and then I did love the scene that I did love was her like him finding out that Anakin's alive and just
That's what I was gonna say,
having that
dude.
whole that whole like expression where like that's where I like I said Ewan just really shined because you could sense the like I like it's like wow like he's not dead but like also like
You can
what do
see
I do
Vader in
now
his
like
eyes, by the way, too. If you go
yeah
back and watch it,
mm-hmm
Vader's in his eyes, but you
yeah
see the fear, you see the
yeah
heartbreak, the fear, everything goes on right there. Where he's like, "I'm scared to see who this guy is,"
mm-hmm
right? Because he doesn't know what Vader's capable of right now, right? Um, but also the fact that he's like, okay, so okay, he lived, awesome, but also I just left him there. So
right
now this guy is terrorizing the galaxy, and he's gonna and he feels like it's his fault. Um,
yeah
uh, yeah, but seeing that look on his eyes of just like it was just shock, and he couldn't get out of it. Even to the end of the episode, him sitting there, and Leia's like, "Obi-Wan, are you okay?" And he's just it all the
yeah
haunting it comes to him of just
mm-hmm.
like, okay, he's alive. Like my student's alive, and I let him go, and now he's this guy named Darth Vader, which I don't even know what's going on. But if he's a part of those Inquisitors, like it can't be good. So it was
yeah
a beautiful scene, and that was probably my favorite moment too. So
yeah
yeah.
it was a really good scene and then Reva kills the Grand Inquisitor quote unquote. And I don't feel like he's dead.
Well, I
I
wanted
just
to
feel
talk
like
about
that
that.
would
I
be
feel like that
yeah.
one is dead, right? In Rebels, though, I was like, as soon as she did it, though, I was like, okay, because he shows up in Rebels, so he couldn't have died here. But I remember people complain, like, small theory, I don't think it's gonna happen. I remember people complaining about how he looked, right?
I
How
thought he looked
granted,
fine.
I think he looks fine too. But he like they're like, oh, his face could have been slimmer, like the character in the TV show, right? Um, so I feel like they're gonna bring in a different looking Grand Inquisitor, and that's the one that we're used to. But also, like I
Could
said,
be.
she was kind of um, she kind of got on my nerves with like you're not. I didn't get fear from her, right? It was
No.
just like you're an angry kid with a lightsaber, right?
Well
So you're
she
just the
and
bully right now because I can't do anything. So
yeah, and I think that's the point of her character though, because her whole goal is to impress Vader. And
yeah,
that's what I think is the key there. Is like she it's not that I don't think she has like a personal vendetta or anything against Obi-Wan. I just think her goal is to make sure she impresses Vader so that she can be raised up higher. Because like the Grand Inquisitor says where he's basically like, you're nothing but like from the sewers or whatever. Like, that kind of stuff kind of she wants to now prove herself. And what better way to prove herself than giving doing what Vader wants the most is being able to speak to Obi-Wan. Like, you know what I mean? So if she can perform that, she's only thinking about how that benefits her character and the way that she wants to do things, and then she doesn't have to listen to anyone.
yeah.
So I think that's what the pressure and I think that's what the whole reasoning behind her character being like that is that she wants to drive this force so bad like to be able to hand over Obi-Wan because she wants to impress Vader so much. So I think that's where so I think she did fine by playing that character that is supposed to be like super driven and that you're kind of like like just get out of here kind of thing because that's what she wants to do. So and then she obviously will take anyone out depending on, whoever it is just to reach that goal. So
Also,
I think she did fine.
first time that I think anybody knows that, like at least somebody working with Darth Vader, that it's Anakin. Because so far
Hmm.
everybody thinks like, okay, his name's Darth Vader. That's it. Like I don't know his
Yeah.
history. So interesting. I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's just again, it's just stories that we haven't seen.
yeah,
So like,
exactly.
yeah, there's definitely people who've known like that it's Anakin. You know what I mean? So they, it's just depending on the story. Like again, a lot of people are not open to anything that's happened outside of the movies. So it's kind of like, oh, you only know like the movie side of the stories, but like there's so many like, side parts of the story and all that good stuff. So who know? Like, I'm just glad that they're making a lot of that other stuff canon.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I've been enjoying because now it's making people, hey, you probably want to go back and watch a lot of this stuff, like you know what I mean, or a lot of Clone Wars, which I mean, I can't stress Clone Wars enough. At this point, I don't know what to tell you. Clone Wars and Rebels, to me, is some of the best. I mean, is the best Star Wars stories written.
Yeah. And if you're not
So
gonna watch it, at least watch
like a recap or something. Like
that or season 6 that has the different stories, right? Because that was kind of just put together. And I say the last season, and then watch Bad Batch. If you want to take place of that like Order 66 realm area, that specific area, go for it. But if you want in depth of like the Force, the different animals, the planets, the spirit
watch
realm,
Clone Wars.
everything, dude, it goes so much deeper than what they show
Just
you.
watch Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Once
So
you get past the first two seasons, you're fine. Okay,
yeah.
and then season three on, and then watch Rebels because then you get to see my favorite Star Wars character, which I won't say, but you get do all that good stuff.
I want you to
So
say.
I think you need to. What? No, I'm not going to say it because if you haven't watched Rebels, then you wouldn't know who my favorite character is, and if you know who my favorite character is, then when you watch Rebels, you'll know he's going to be in it. So I'm not going to say who my favorite character is because then it might ruin the surprise.
All right, we'll talk after the show then, because I don't know who your favorite character is.
You know who my favorite character is. You should know who my favorite Star Wars. I'll give you a hint. You have him on top of your wall.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you're right. Never mind. I got it. I got it.
Yeah. But yeah, so anything else you wanted to add about episode 2?
No, man. It was solid, and it was a fresher breath air. And I'm with Star Wars weekend. Everything that's come out, I am,
So much.
dude. I'm in full Star Wars mode. I'm actually gonna rewatch Bad Batch because I don't remember it as much. So I just want to go through it for fun. So
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of Star Wars content. If you guys obviously you guys are Star Wars fans, so I would assume you guys know, but I mean Andor
Next year we're getting
show,
a lot.
yeah, Andor, I mean from video games too. There's a lot of Star Wars content that we're getting. So Ahsoka, I think just finished almost is close to
Nope.
finishing wrapping up.
They wrap
Or
both
yeah.
from what I read.
So,
Yeah, and definitely watch Rebels because they came out today, and basically Rebel, like what's going on in Rebels and stuff like that. It's going to happen in Ahsoka. So like,
well, if you don't watch Rebels in Ahsoka, my thing is if you plan on watching Ahsoka, then I don't you don't even need you have to watch Rebels.
yeah, that's what I'm
Or
saying.
at
You
least
have to have to watch it because there's no
because
yeah
the whole storyline itself is centered around what happened.
yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is. And you will love Rebels. Just watch it.
Yep.
Anyway, before we go, Chris, what was your favorite? I think you already hinted at what was your favorite part.
Favorite part in
Of the
episode 2 is the ending of seeing Obi-Wan with the fear and the sadness. Like I really felt for him there, dude. It was like it's like that's my best friend, that's my brother, everything. I let him down, and now I don't know what he is. You know what I mean? And that was a very powerful moment. For episode 1, I'm gonna say I liked Leia at the table talking to her cousin. That's when you found out how feisty she was. I was like, okay, girl, snap. All right.
That was my favorite part of episode 1 was that she was just like, listen, that's why nobody
She's
likes
like, you're
you.
scared of your dad. You're scared of your dad. That's why. That's why you're being mean to me. And you'll never be like him. And I'm like,
exactly. I was like, savage. But yeah, it was great. Yeah, that was definitely my favorite part of episode 1. Favorite part of episode 2 was same as yours. Just Ewan McGregor's acting, just being top notch. His delivery, everything he's doing just seems right. It feels right. You know what I mean? And you just want to follow him throughout this journey. I know we have 6 episodes of this, so 4 more, which is fine with me because, like I said, sometimes these stories can go on for longer than they should. I think if in theory, if you do your first first 3 episodes dealing with Leia, and then the next 3 dealing with Luke, I think that's perfect because you did both twins essentially.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? I think it'd be cool if they did it that way. Also, I noticed that they're not naming any of these episodes. It's literally just part 1, part 2, part 3.
Not
part 4,
yet. Like I said, I think it's doing that thing where I told you, I guarantee you that when episode 3 comes out, those episodes will have names.
We'll see.
So we'll
because
see.
right now it's part 1 and 2.
But that's what I. Yeah, you passed your cough on to me.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think it's like I got it dry, but whatever. It is what it is. But guys, thank you for joining us for this episode for Obi-Wan 1 and 2. Guys, please let us know what you guys think in the comments so that we can reply for it when we shoot the next episodes. Please hit a like, share, let a friend know. We know a lot of people who like Star Wars out there, so please, we're going to be getting this content out for you guys throughout the time. And then I think episode 3, we're also going to have Marvel. So just be prepared, guys. We're going to have a lot of content for you guys. And then we have to put Stranger Things in around there, which the episode list on Stranger Things.
I
Everything
saw
is
how
like an
long the
hour and-
episodes were, so we might have to talk about this. It might.
No,
It might.
we're going to do it.
I
We're
know,
doing
but
it.
it might be longer
doing
than
it.
a week.
We're doing it, okay? We're doing it. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, Fire Team out.